While we're entering the final quarter of 2023, I must confess something that has been clouding my mind for the past 6 months. Something I've kept a secret, and I needed to get it off my chest. I'm sorry, guys. I played through and platinum one of the best indie games on the market today, and I fucking loved every second of it, even if I shit myself a few times. I know, arrest me now, the fact that I'm just now making an official video on this game is criminal. Oh, and if you fear the ocean, or any vast open water for that matter, that you know has dark voids of nothingness underneath it, you'll have a blast. I think I developed a fear of the ocean after playing this. Ladies and gentlemen, Dredge. Released on March 30th, 2023, created by Black Salt Games and published by Team 17, Dredge was a game I started seeing float around on YouTube via ads, and usually I skip anything that interrupts my video viewing pleasure, but unlike other game ads, this one caught my eye, and I was hooked. Around that time, all I was seeing were ads for Warzone and Fortnite, and unlike the general population, I really don't play Battle Royales, nor do I care for either of those games, which might have led me to be more intrigued into the mystery this game was teasing me with. These ads showcased a world I just had to explore, something new, something weird, a Lovecraftian fishing nightmare. A combo I never knew I needed, but appreciated every bit of it upon completion. So with my little appreciation summary out of the way, let's dive into the game itself and the platinum journey. But before that, I previously stated the release date, so sticking to the numbers portion of these totally informative pieces that I put out, we can see here that Dredge has set a regular market price of $24.99 and has a DLC for $4.99. You can combine the two for its digital deluxe edition, and you can find that for $26.99 unless you're a PC gamer, in which you'll be paying whatever Steam decides to be the price at the time of recording this. The Digital Deluxe Edition for PC is more expensive, by the way, because added bonuses like a soundtrack and digital art, which will be more than what the console offers, which only puts in an artifact in which certain things in the game can spawn more frequently to increase the pace. I only paid and played for the base game though, so all I can say is it's probably best just to rock the base, because it's just fine without the extras. As for the price, I think it's very reasonable, seeing which is a small but very well put together indie game, and with the way games are always increasing in prices as of late, it'll be a no-brainer of a pickup on sale and a money's worth if you just bought it at regular market price. As for ratings, well, obviously I've been hitting at a good one on my end, but what about everyone else? What's being said about the game since release? Overall, we can see an abundance of good reviews, bad here, medium here, but overall, good scores. If you check out OpenCritic, this site takes reviews from every outlet and organizes them very neatly game by game and gives you a link at each review to check out the full article from which the score was derived from. I just found this site and it will make my job a lot easier when it comes to collecting reviews to gather up the outside info for people who may not agree with me or would like a further dive into a reason to pick up a game if they haven't played it before. I'll drop my final score at the end of the video, but for now, let's take a look at what Dredge is all about. No spoilers, just a base walkthrough. This Lovecraftian fishing horror game takes place amongst many islands with open seas surrounding as far as the eye could see. Now don't come at me for mixing up ocean and sea and yada yada yada. Just don't come at me. A storm engulfs our protagonist and he awakens shipwrecked on the Morrow's Isles, unknown to the mystery that awaits him. Arriving into town of Greater Morrow, our fisherman is greeted by the mayor, welcoming him by letting us know that our ship is destroyed beyond repair and that we are in his debt because he lends us an old fishing vessel. Following the trend of bad news, he further pokes fun at how we've met the Morrow's jagged rocks and couldn't see the lighthouse right in front of us. Then pushes us off to learn the very basics: how to fish, how to sail, and that we best be back before the foggy nights roll in. From here we begin collecting what fish we can before our beloved hours dwindle until darkness, and the previous idea of being in debt is further backed up. When we go talk to the fishmonger to sell our fish, he states what we already expect to be the case, paying off our debt before moving anywhere else. Furthermore, we're introduced to not only what will be the recurring fish shop among the outlooking islands, but also where we can repair and buy new equipment for our ship. Then the mayor gives us a very important piece going forward, the research part. These allow us to upgrade our ship, decking ourselves out with new rods, engines, lights, traps, nets, and just an overall beefing up of our ship. Once we pay off the ship, though, we see a flourishing Greater Morrow, as the mayor now explains that the shipwright has access to the old dry dock and can now further upgrade the ship if we collect scrap material through our travels. After this, we grab a couple side tasks to handle before eventually finding our first aberration. Now if I'm saying that wrong, I also apologize. Don't come at me for it. A mutated version of a fish species. Take one back to the fishmonger, and we're presented with an item that was retrieved from inside the fish after our pal the fishmonger cut her open. From there, we're greeted with a voice from a mysterious man on Blackstone Isle that presents us with a business opportunity, if we give him the item. Now this is where our journey into madness begins. He goes by the Collector, and tasked us with finding 5 items after gifting our ship with the ability to dredge locations. These 5 items are located at each of the 5 island areas, and after they're found can be brought back to the Collector for an ability as well as the progress to story. Large key can be found near us, a music box located in the Gale Cliffs, a ring located in the Stellar Basin, a necklace located in the Twisted Strand, and finally a watch located in the Devil's Spine. Each of these areas can be briefly learned about through the mayor, but he'll never truly describe the horrors that await you. It's honestly best left for you to discover on your own. The mystery is pretty damn good. So, we're going to move on to the next topic. I think it's safe for me to describe how this game works and how I think it works very well. The mix of fishing, almost fishing simulator, and horror/mystery is definitely something different, but let's drop the horror for a second and focus on just the fishing. Simple, easy to master. So why does this work so well? Most people like easy to get into but hard to master, so it separates the actual skill levels. Last time I checked, just like separating skill levels, there are separations in how people play games, and a separation within those games themselves. So, since we dropped the horror, we can figure that this means you're currently fishing during the day, open view of the ocean, a calming skyline, peacefully putzing around from plentiful fishing spots, one by one, viewing the islands from afar with your spyglass, watching as some dolphins playfully leap from the water and make their way across, and just start enjoying the art style that has been put together in front of us. It's peaceful, doesn't need to be difficult, because we'll be doing it quite often without even realizing we spent the past 2 to 3 in-game days raking in hundreds of dollars just to upgrade your ship. Well, you may say I didn't come to play a damn fishing simulator, so what are you trying to sell me here? I'll get to that. Let's drop the fishing and just play a horror game. Night falls, and you've just started this once wonderful playthrough, and now you're stuck with what seems to be a single bulb hanging from a lantern with only 5 to 10 feet of visibility in front of you. You switch to your foghorn in hopes of signaling to Greater Morrow that you're out after dark, and the noise of the waves crashing against your ship subtly eases. Then shivers shoot down your spine when something honks back at you from the fog. That same lantern you can see sailing your way. Thinking nothing of it, but another fisherman caught out in the fog, you honk back, this time in a certain pattern. It copies you, honks back the same way. Surely it's another fisherman. Closer it gets, the lantern begins swinging back and forth like the boat's rocking violently, but the waves aren't that strong, nor is it moving that fast. Then the glow from underneath the ocean becomes more apparent, and, well, how about doing some deep-sea fishing? The shadows of the coast underneath the water start to disappear into a dark abyss underneath you. As you travel to that new species of fish you've caught with your spyglass, splashes begin to be heard where not visible, and you stop to listen, turning around to see the shadow of something monstrous coming from the depths. What the fuck? Jesus Christ! I'm done with the ocean, dude. Yeah, it got me good. I thought I was safe since it was day and I was just out and about fishing, but I truly believe that the developers here put something good. Simple, full of substance. With the acquisition of an old dredge boat from the mayor, we're tasked to fish, earn money, and pay off our debt. The process of making money, though, is done through selling fish and other valuables found. Fishing is done through coming in contact with a fishing location marked by these ripples in the water and the shadows of whatever fish species you're about to hook underneath. Then, we're prompted with a QTE that speeds up the reeling process. See? Simple. Substance, however, comes from the 128 fish types in the game. Little less than half of that is actual normal fish species, while the rest are all aberrations that these fucking developers and artists put together, and they're fucking awesome looking. These deformed, monsterized versions of the fish are so cool. Then, following that, it all gets broken down into what type of species of fish we can catch are. We've got shallow, coastal, oceanic, abyssal, hadal, mangrove, volcanic, and lastly, not a fish type, but we've got the dredge component that works the same way. If you follow through with all these areas in order, after getting the dredge ability, the game is basically up to you for exploration, but there's still technically an order. You'll discover these types of fish and most likely will be met with an inability to catch them. This brings us into the vast skill and gear upgrading portion of the game. Like I said, these little guys here are very important. We can scroll into this menu, which allows us to research a piece of gear, and doing that allows the item to become purchasable in the shipyard menu. The equipment that can be researched includes a good number of rods, engines, pots, and nets each, and further upgrades can come into play when you unlock the dry dock menu. Using the scrap/building materials you find throughout your fishing trips, you can supersize your ship's ability to hold space for your added equipment. Then once you fill out a portion of this tree, you can move forward with a tier upgrade. That ups your ship's normal storage entirely and allows you to take more damage. How's that for substance? With more storage comes me showcasing Dredge's storage mechanic and your ship's menu. Simple, grid-based storage, meaning you'll be managing the fish you catch very wisely, rotating the bitches to fit just how you want without them touching your equipment, which will be marked with these white boxes. On your right and your left, you have your rod and net spaces. Bottom, you have your engines, and up top, you have your lights. As you journey through the game, you'll be switching out rods and nets depending on the fishing requirement in your area, until eventually finding yourself with a pimped out setup that allows you to do what you want, whenever you want, wherever you want. Going fast as fuck too, with all the visibility in the world you could ever have. Being a fucking pimp on the sea. Then you have your cabin portion. This is where you'll find your activated quests, books to read that will give you abilities, more on that in a minute, your map, messages, and bottles that you found throughout your journey, and finally your encyclopedia, which showcases every fish in the game after being caught. Then the last part of your ship's menu is your net. If you have a net equipped, you'll be dragging this along with you, being able to catch by just moving around. This tab allows you to manage what you've caught. Again, simple, but yet lots of substance, making this progression so satisfying. We have more mechanics to cover before moving on to the next topic though, so what better way to move on than to talk about how movement impacts your game. Sitting still, time freezes, except for when one of the many random encounters that you can encounter have been activated while you're moving before stopping. Continue moving, and time follows your lead. Also, there are books you can find through quest or out and about that you can equip, aka read. As you move and time progresses, so will that book. Once the book has been read, you'll gain a buff. Anything from increasing the speed of your engines to being able to haggle up prices when you get out selling fish, or dropping down the price when you want to buy some items. Only so much time in the day though before getting caught out in the dark, so plan your trips wisely. So by paying attention to the clock and utilizing the rest feature at the docks to start a fresh day, here's a tip. 6 a.m. brings about the morning. So if you want to maximize your time, stopping the rest at about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning gives you a good portion of time to putz off while not drawing attention from the horrors of the night and gives you a good head start. But unfortunately, some aspects of the game require a good nighttime trip. So I hope you've packed another pair of underwear in case you shit yourself like I did many times. Speaking of nightfall, let's talk about sanity, aka panic. Next to your clock, we have our sanity meter. It takes form of an ever-growing eyeball that begins to turn from normal to red, then moving sporadically if you endured too much chaos. Run-ins with creatures during both day or night, staying out after dark, and the use of your spells you get from our good old friend the Collector can cause a bit of increase in the panic, I should say. If out at night, make sure you turn on your lights to see, of course, but also slightly reduce the rate of panic. But as time goes on, unfortunately, so does the panic. You find yourself with a sporadic red eyeball, it might be too late if you're not close enough to a dock or a safe location, like in town. You'll begin not only seeing that very same insane eyeball up top, but also blocking your very path as many start popping up. Rocks will begin to show themselves that were never there before, which if ran into will cause damage to your ship, and not to mention what may be out there lurking, waiting to catch you at deeper waters, or even shallower to catch you off guard. Everything from red mist that latch onto you, drawing you further to insanity, ghost sharks that move at intense speeds and go out far with deep nothings underneath, and the Leviathan will catch a midnight snack. Also, at the time of writing this, there was a new creature added that I've yet to experience, aka during this writing session, I went to experience it. It's the motherfucking monster ray. It roams shallow waters too, so if you thought you were safe close to land, not anymore, motherfucker. Finally, I'm going to go over the quest portion of Dredge, then we'll move on from the mechanics portion. This bulletin board will be filled out as you near the end of the game with either active or finished pursuits, and does not ever expand, so once it's filled up to the brim, you'll have ran into every possible adventure. Like I stated before, sometimes you may need to explore after dark due to the type of quest that has you filling out fishing orders. Certain fish or apparitions can only be caught during night, so check your encyclopedia for more information. While other pursuits will have you moving people from one location to another, also can be items sometimes. And then, of course, in the middle is your main quest line. For the collector, of course, which contains multiple objectives inside of it, just like the rest of the pursuits. Each group of islands contains its own kind of quest lines that you'll be completing in order to find the items the collector has sent you to, collect. So as mentioned in the intro, I have Platinum Dredge, and it was a damn good one. The trophy list consists of 40 trophies, 4 gold, 8 silver, 27 bronze, and the platy. Every trophy on here just really pushes you just to enjoy the full extent of the game. Nothing here is a frustrating pursuit, nor a burden. 8 of those 40 will be completing the story. Tack on 1 more if you want to add completing all the side quests to that list. So that's 9 trophies accounted for. 7 trophies for using an ability on the scroll wheel once or in a certain way, and that counts for 16 of 40. 5 trophies for basically just inventory management, from discarding 25 fish to selling $2,500 worth of fish to just having full cargo hold of fish. Yeah, 21 of 40. 10 trophies for equipment and upgrades, 31 of 40, 1 platinum, 32 of 40, with the rest of the trophies falling into the miscellaneous categories, everything from catching a certain number of fish to depleting fishing spots, to visiting every dock in the game, and catching every type of fish that Dredge has to offer. Overall, it has almost a AAA number of trophies, nearing that 45 to 50 mark that on average AAA games have, and I'd give it an overall platinum difficulty of a 2 out of 10. The only thing bringing it up from a 1 is that the extra time and I guess the tedious nature for the trophy that requires every type of fish to be caught is definitely a turn-off for some people. But if you're a trophy hunter or a lover of finding the most out of a good indie game, this will honestly just be a fun time looking at all the cool fish Dredge had created. Because remember, out of 128, only half are really out there. The other half are fucked up versions that were created for the Lovecraftian fishing element. It's fucking bananas. And as for our good pal PSN Profiles, they have put a stamp of a 3 out of 10 for difficulty. And a 20-hour time period. As for the time, I honestly didn't keep track at all. I was just enjoying the game, so that 20-hour mark is a good reference for me, but doesn't affect my score for the difficulty at all. I give Dredge an 8.8 out of 10. The fact that it drew me in from an ad on YouTube to me finishing its spin on genres was a ride I'm going to have to take again sometime. I only played through it once, but the game allows for a playthrough consistent with your playstyle, so my complete run has me clocked in at 146 in-game days, which is hard to measure the actual time because remember, it's movement based. Some days may be longer, some shorter. Now that time was me completing the entirety of Dredge, so keep in mind that learning and exploring the game was at the beginning and getting some footage for the video at the end. So it probably won't be that many days for you, but it's definitely good to take your time and enjoy the ride. I've listed many things that make the game good throughout the video, so in this portion, I'm going to mainly describe why I wouldn't rate it a 10 out of 10. For starters, nothing is perfect in the world, so a perfect 10 would be hard to reach even with the most extreme biases. So I'll knock it down to a 9.5, 9.5, which is where I basically start all my games because like I said, nothing's without flaws. So that means almost a full point was dropped on my end afterwards. Why? When starting up the game, through the beginning to grab some footage after my initial playthrough, I noticed how slow the damn boat was. Now, this is both good and bad. Be good because it solidifies my point of this game having very strong progression, which makes the upgrading mechanic worth it. The bad is it's going to drag on my second playthrough or your second playthrough. Now, thankfully for a first-time player, you won't have the muscle memory of going fast at all. So it'll build up over time, giving you that satisfaction. But for a player who enjoyed it and wants to replay it, it may be tough. And definitely for the player who shoots for a game's slow start right off the bat to critique it, well, it's going to be an easy jab. So that drops it only down to about a 9.2 score. Where it really hit me was around the third quarter mark. I definitely wouldn't say it's bad, but the scary creatures that were driving the horror element dropped off, and we were faced with an enemy that just had to be killed off to complete a quest and to provide safer travels for us through our area, but the enemy was just that, an enemy that had to be killed off. The foe wasn't really scary, nor was it much of a challenge to handle. Horror is obviously driven by the unbeatable and the need to run instead of fight, but thankfully there is never a break from the fact that once you left the third section of islands, you're back into nothing but water and the uncertainty of what's beneath you. So, back to shitting my pants basically. So an 8-8 is where I stop. The sound and art is nothing short of great. Beautiful looking game with sound design both calming and horrifying at the same time. The story is definitely intriguing, as it offers 2 endings and the possibility of a sequel. I would hope, because what the fuck's that thing? Thankfully though, there's DLC coming out as part of the 4th entry to the update roadmap, so I'm excited to play and cover that when it gets around to seeing the light of day. So, I know I really didn't shed too much of light on the story. It's unlike me to really not cover it in detail, but as for Dredge, I honestly think it's best left to be played and enjoyed and figured out on your own, or maybe looked up after and try to, further build your knowledge of it, but overall, it's a good time. Overall game score, 8.8. Is it worth the price? Empty your wallet. Platinum, 2 out of 10 for difficulty, and a shined up worthiness. And with this vid, changing up a bit from the guidelines I've used previously on my reviews, I'll end off with a new scaling system. Here. One for my price tag worthiness, and the other for my platinum worthiness. Now, if you made it this far in the video, thank you for bearing along with me. If you stuck around on this channel for long enough, you understand that this video might be a little different from others. Also, the newer videos that have been coming out are not like this at all, and you wish they were probably like the other ones before. I'm sorry if you like this content instead of the other content, but I was just exploring with the content, trying to see what I can do more efficiently, what I enjoyed to do more. On top of actually experiencing life and jumping into 100 different hobbies at once on top of YouTube. So I appreciate you guys sticking around. You guys have slowly been growing this little channel one by one. Now I'm only at like 32 subscribers at the time of recording this, but you guys have been that's crazy to me. I know everybody's at a fucking, my favorite people to watch are at 1 million, above 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, whatever. The fact that I got 32 guys, motherfuckers out there watching this shit, and you click that fucking subscribe button, you guys are absolutely insane, and I love every one of you. Thank you. More videos to come. Stick around. I'm going to be taking a week off of work coming up, so I'm going to be cranking out shit on top of YouTube, on top of hobbies. I just want to get some fucking shit done. So, thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you for watching. Peace out, everybody.